Okay, we are live. Yes. The normalization of steroid use needs to stop. This is quite important. Now, when I say steroids, I'm talking about all the sorts of these drugs that would get you banned from any competition within a federation like the International Powerlifting Federation, or in the Olympics. We call these things doping. But normally when people refer to those, they usually say steroids, and I honestly don't know the full extent of the different kinds of chemicals and whatever they take, but I will refer to it as either doping or steroids in this live stream. Also, just to make it very clear that I do not, we're not talking about cases where these like steroids are used to treat people in a medical context. For instance, someone recovering from cancer, I know in some cases they get anabolic steroids to be able to recover, and also in many cases they are now seeing that it's beneficial for old people. But I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to make any such claims. I'm just trying to say that I'm not at all pointing my finger at those people who are using this in a like prescribed from the doctor in a medical context. Just to make that very clear. When it comes to what is normally called TRT, or testosterone replacement therapy, that is absolutely steroids. The synthetic testosterone is an anabolic steroid, and I understand that very often people use TRT, or testosterone replacement testosterone replacement therapy, as a nice way of saying that they're just taking steroids to build a lot of muscle. So it's become this fashionable word that people like to use because it sounds nicer. But also there is absolutely a term, a medical term, TRT, or testosterone replacement therapy, that is used when your doctor prescribe this for you because you have tried, or you should have tried, to tidy up your diet first, to sleep enough and have a healthy lifestyle. But if that doesn't work, they might prescribe testosterone. Okay. That being said, we are seeing a very disturbing normalization of drugs. I mean, in general, but also these muscle building drugs. It's being if you go to a platform like Instagram, and me doing powerlifting, sometimes I upload some of the top working sets, and that has signaled to Instagram that I want to see all these roiders, as we call them, but I don't. but anyway, Instagram shows me these people, and It's obvious that they are on steroids. It's pathetic and it's weak. I have the very old-fashioned opinion that if you can't do this in a natural way, if you can't get strong and build muscle in a natural way, and you have to take synthetic substances to build muscle and get strong, it's a sign of weakness. And I understand that that's not a fashionable opinion to have. It's an unpopular opinion to have. But that's my opinion. What I'm seeing is that young people, especially now, teenage boys, they expect to look like a 35-year-old powerlifter who's been training his whole life at the age of 18. Now, building muscle and getting strong takes a long, long time. Just for reference, I can tell you that I'm 52 now, and in the bench press, I was at my strongest ever at the age of 39, and I bench pressed 185 kilos without the bench press shirt in competition, which is more difficult than doing it in the gym. In the gym, I bench pressed 190, and I kind of cheated a little bit on the lift, 200 kilos in the bench press. So it takes a lot of time. I started training at the age of with weights at the age of 13. I was going to say I don't understand, but I do understand it. But let me just phrase it like this: I don't understand what the point is. If you have to take steroids to build muscle, what's the point? Anyone can do that. In fact, I have seen many examples up through the years of people who come to the gym, and you can kind of tell that this is a person who is not naturally gifted when it comes to building muscle. We're all different. I could never be a good long distance runner. It's not my physique. But these people, they might have that kind of physique, the long distance runner physique maybe. But they expect to have the same or faster development as people who are naturally gifted. And since they can't do that in a natural way, they start taking these drugs. And here comes the ugly part. Oh, it's already ugly, you could say, but the ugly part is that, of course, these people, they very often they get, when they go off, they try to go off this. They say they're not addicted to it, right? But when they go off it, they experience a number of very serious side effects. And that's because their own testosterone production is lower than it would be in a 14-year-old girl. So they experience things like muscle loss, of course. They experience, how should we put it? Very often, they can't perform in a sexual way at all for a long time. And I can imagine that must be very, very sad. And speaking of sadness, depression, when they go off this, is maybe the worst side effect. and these influencers, they are there on, on Instagram and these other platforms with a six pack and big biceps. What they're not telling you is that they can't ever go off this shit, because when they do, they get so depressed that they get suicidal in many cases. And this is, obviously a very, very serious thing. Now, of course, there are side effects of this while they're on it as well. We're getting to the old age and so-called TRT in a second or a few seconds. But well-known side effects of taking, for instance, anabolic steroids is aggression. And they say that, no, that's not true. Well, it is true, because they do not take an amount of synthetic anabolic steroids or testosterone to get to a normal level. They take maybe 500 percentage of that, so they get an unnatural, very, very high level, which, your hormones kind of control who you are and how you behave. And roid rage is a very real thing. How many women have been beaten up by their boyfriend in roid rage? I don't know. Must be quite a lot. Many. So it's a very sad thing. It is a very, very sad thing. And also, it's like, why? Why? Why can't you instead build self-discipline? Why can't you instead be patient and go to the gym, do the right things, eat real food, be healthy, and you'll become the best version of yourself? I'm calling this out now because it fucking irritates me to see these people. Another thing is that they might get some attention for looking like that, but I wouldn't want to look like that. I would not want to look like that. But that's beside the point, I guess. But roid rage, hair loss, of course. Now, I'm not saying that everyone with hair loss is taking steroids. Not saying that. It's quite a normal thing, but it's not healthy. And it's so comical when these people, they promote a healthy lifestyle. And you have the roid casters, as I call them, sitting there with their bodies built entirely on synthetic testosterone. They're sitting there giving life advice to young men. What a fucking parody that is. So, yeah, okay. So the thing about old people and testosterone replacement therapy. Now, we're all different, but if you live a healthy lifestyle, which means eating real food, not spending all your day looking at your smartphone. And I'm sorry to say this, but it's been proven that, having sex is good for you. It's healthy, right? Okay. So there, I said it. So working out, lifting weights, go for walks, which is very beneficial. It has been proven to be extremely beneficial for you. Just go for some walks, and lifting weights, and live a healthy lifestyle. If you do that, you should actually not experience a lot of decrease in your natural testosterone production. Now, I I haven't. I have had it tested since I was, I think, yeah, for many, many years. It's part of when you go to the doctor, you can ask for that. And I found it interesting to see, can I tweak my diet a little bit and so on. It kind of shows that it doesn't really affect, at least not my testosterone level, my diet. What does affect it is the amount of body fat you have. So um, reducing the amount of body fat is very good. It's beneficial for your um, testosterone production. Um, but it's been steady, and I know other people too. In my sport, powerlifting, it's within the IPF, and you see people into their 50s, even early 60s, and they build muscle. They do it naturally. They are strong as hell. And I've experienced the same after I made a comeback in powerlifting. I've had a lot of, I said to my coach, I don't think I can gain 10 kilos like in a short matter of time, well, just in a few years, but I did. Um, and so it's what I'm trying to say is that it's not automatic that your testosterone is reduced as you get older. Eventually it will, okay, but not in your 50s. No. In your 60s, I don't know. I would guess not much, but maybe. People are different and so on. But in your 40s, no. In your 50s, no. For most people, no. Um, there should be no reason to take any supplements in that regard. But again, people are different. So the normalization of taking steroids is dangerous. It tells people, especially young people, that this is something everyone does. And it's necessary to build muscle. It's necessary to look a certain way because, let's face it, it's about the looks. For most people, it's about the looks. And I'm seeing these idiots now, because they are idiots, on Instagram. They even have these drug names in their nickname, or their handle name on Instagram. It's sad. It's sad, but you could say, at least they're being honest. And some people say, well, it's good, as long as they're honest about it, it's all good. No, it's not, because that's what we call normalization. And now we have kids, teenage boys using steroids because they think everyone does it. This is another part of this problem. The attitude among these idiots is that they claim that everyone does it, and the only difference between them and the other people is that they are being honest. Now, of course, I've had, when I started up my powerlifting vlog channel again here on YouTube, the first comment I got was something like, "What are you on? What are you using?" So I had to go into you can put some words into a banned word list, and I had to put the normal names of these drugs there. And that seems to have solved the problem. It's just sad that people assume that you're that you're using doping. Not only because in my sport it would clearly be cheating, but also, it's I've kind of gotten used to it, but When I remember I got in my when I was about 17, 18, I gained a lot of muscle, which is natural. If you're that age and you lift weights and you eat real food, you will gain a lot of muscle because your testosterone level is sky high. I mean, you're at that age, it's natural. But I had people talking about me like, "Oh, you that guy there, he's using steroids." It wasn't so nice. I can tell you that. It's not okay, and that is why I also have the opinion that we should not, unless you have obvious cases, right? You should not um, disregard the fact that there are some people out there who are so gifted that they can build muscle really fast and get really, really strong really, really fast. There are some people out there, but not many. Not many. There are very few people like that. And I know this. I've been lifting weights for more than 30 years. Um, I've been lifting weights for actually, it will soon be 40 years. And when here in this town, there's a CrossFit gym. And sometimes you see the girls there, for instance, a group of girls, and they do running, which is fine. But, it's like this joke, powerlifters don't run, but they come running out of that place and down the road. And I'm kind of amazed because they all have a physique, or most of these girls have a physique that I've never seen in top level, except a couple of examples at the world elite level in powerlifting. I've never seen physiques like that among the women, because it's not natural. You as a woman, you normally don't have big biceps. You don't have that those boyish hips and a six-pack belly. It's they're on steroids, of course. And I heard someone here talking about some other guy who were supplying these girls and putting them on these regimes of like a full range of different substances. It's really sad. And of course, I mean, women get more destroyed than permanently destroyed than men. Men get impotent and develop breasts and depression and baldness and I mean, which is horrible. But the women, I don't want to get into details. I don't want to get into details on what happens to them, but it's not pretty. I've heard some stories. Let's just put it that way. Someone I know, for instance, he hooked up with one of those girls, and he gave me all the details, and it was not nice. I can tell you that. So, yeah, bit of a horror show, yes. Let's see here. Let's get to the chat. So yeah, stop the normalization of this. Instead, normalize living a healthy lifestyle. Eat real food. Lift weights. Go for walks. Spend time in nature. Yeah. Yeah, Carl says he hooked up with a guy, basically. Well, yeah, I wish he hadn't told me what he told me, but down there it was things were a little bit different. Yeah. So let's see here. I'll just scroll up a little bit to get the context here. Carl, yes. Are you talking 15%? Are you talking about body fat? Yeah. Yes, I've read as well that when you get in that range, that's a low body fat, right? When you get under that level, it's very difficult to have a healthy testosterone production, because your body is actually, it's signaling to your body that you're starving. So there's like this sweet spot, right, where you have a higher body fat percentage than that, but not too high. So and that's where you will be as a man, at least. It's different for women, of course. Now, women produce testosterone as well, and they need testosterone to be healthy, but it's much less. So let's see here. Yeah, bodybuilders, they wax or shave all the hair on their body. Yes, they do that. It's odd, but I think it's something they do before they go on stage so that the muscles become more visible, something like that. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Oh, now there is a difference between ethnic groups as well, and here's a funny thing I've seen here in it's not funny. It's a bit sad, but people from when I lived in Oslo, there were now we don't have a huge immigration level in Norway, but there are enough people here from the Middle East, typically Muslim countries, that you can kind of see the difference, and they are more tiny than people from Scandinavia, Northern Europe, Eastern Europe. And of course, you have people in North America with that ethnicity. They tend to be bigger, and that's just how it is. But I noticed that those boys, they do not accept that. So they are. What I've heard is that it's very normal that they go straight on steroids. So that's sad. So. Oh yeah, heart disease. Space Monkey says heart disease. Yes, I forgot to talk about that. These bodybuilders, they very often they die from heart disease, and also we need to mention the strongman thing, which is maybe even worse. I don't know, but it's not even a sport. I do not consider it a sport. It's more like a circus. No. They're not part of any federation that requires doping test. So yeah, that's and they they are seen as it irritates me. These people irritates me. They irritate me because they claim to have the world record in deadlifting, but they don't do the deadlift, do they? They do a sort of deadlift with a soft bar that won't lift from the floor until you have bent the bar, and that's not That's not necessarily because there are so many plates on. It's because the bar is very soft, so the lift becomes shorter. And they use these idiotic hand wraps. And I won't even tell you what we used to call those hand wraps before sports became more politically correct. So yeah, that's not a deadlift. That's not a deadlift. If you can't hold the bar, you can't lift the bar. So let's see here. So let's see here. Now, yeah, with the ethnicity, it's interesting because it has kind of changed, at least in drug-free powerlifting, right? We can't really compare. We can't look at sports or federations where there are no drug testing, because then it's basically who has the biggest wallet or bank account that wins. So in powerlifting, in the IPF now, it's become a bit different, which I find very interesting. It's more diverse now ethnically. It used to be like almost completely dominated by Northern and Eastern Europeans, but now we have a more diverse group of people at the top level. So you have Jesus. I believe in Jesus. That's a bit of a joke I have. Jesus Olivares. He's the strongest man in powerlifting now, and he's Hispanic American guy. And you have we have some British guys. They have obviously an African ethnicity. So it's interesting because it seems like it's more diverse than I used to think. Now, so pussy wraps. The hand wraps now even worse, actually. Millhouse says, I think shorter people have an advantage for deadlift. Actually, the best deadlifters are quite tall, actually. A horror business says shorter people have an advantage on bench. Yes, that is very true. It has to do with how long your arms are. So if you have long arms, that's an advantage in the deadlift, but a disadvantage in the bench press. I have long arms, and I'm quite a good deadlifter, but my bench press was quite good. Now my shoulders are not what they used to be because of injuries, so it's holding me back a little bit, but I don't have a natural talent for the bench press. Let's see here. Horror business is talking about the Icelandic lifters. Well, it seems like they are not really. I disagree. They are big in strongman, but we can't look at strongman because in that regard, because they do not test on doping, and let's face it, they're all on steroids, aren't they? And Icelandic lifters, I don't think that they are. Well, there aren't that many of them, but they're not known as a great nation in powerlifting, drug-tested powerlifting. And we have some people being mentioned here. that I know were on steroids. So again, don't even mention people who use hand wraps, by the way, in the deadlift, because that's not the deadlift. Okay. So, again, I think it's obvious why these people on social media platforms building their presence, why they are taking these drugs to build muscle. They get all the attention. And it's both the men and the women. They get all the attention. Someone who looks like me will not get attention, and that's okay. I'm not, it's not, I get it, being a middle-aged man with a bit of a pot belly. that's not really what people are striving towards. That's okay. But it becomes the normal to look like those people on steroids, and that's dangerous. Because not only will you get the people who then think that, oh, this is normal, everyone's doing it, so I should do it as well. And these people are fine. These people are successful. Look at Dwayne Johnson. Oh, he's so successful. And look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's like 200 years old, and he's been using steroids all his life, by the way. But yeah, they're all successful, so it can't be dangerous, can it? But yeah, now, where was I going with Constantino was on drugs, Sultan. I'm sorry. It's just, it's, don't. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So these people, they are promoting training schedules and diets and so on, and using themselves as poster boys or poster girls to promote those diets and those training schedules. But in reality, most of their looks, most of their muscles come from synthetic testosterone and such things. Now, when I was at the national team, powerlifting team here in Norway, I remember one of the we had these weekends where we would get together, and there was like an education seminar, like a seminar. And one of those seminars, the coach for the national team, I think it was, he showed us some graphs, and this was research that he had found. It was done in Eastern Europe back in the day. They couldn't do it now because it's unethical. And I've mentioned this before, but by the way, this Dwayne Johnson, his physique he's my age, by the way. He's on steroids. He's probably been on steroids his entire adult life. Let's not. It's obvious, right? It's not because it's Samoan. But okay. Yeah. So let me try to stick to the point here. So this research that was done, it was done on 3 groups. So we had one group, they would train for a period of time clean, no steroids, right? and lifting weights. We're talking lifting weights here. And the other group would be taking steroids and train lifting weights, same program. And the third group would take steroids, but they wouldn't lift a weight at all. Now, can you guess the result? On top, of course, was the group lifting weights and using steroids. On second, we're talking muscle development here. The group out of those three groups that got the second best muscle development was not the group that was lifting weights clean. It was the group that was not lifting weights but taking steroids. That should tell you something. That should tell you something. Yeah. Let's see here. So when these people, these influencers, they are claiming that their physique it comes down to hard work. They always say that diet and hard work. Well, yeah, of course, it's important, but you won't look like they look like ever if all you do is have a perfect diet and you train very hard and intelligent. That's not going to make you look like that. Not ever. It's not going to happen. So another part of this whole thing is that you want to have a lifestyle and a training regime and a way of eating that is sustainable. That means that what I'm talking about here is that you want to keep doing this your entire life. Now, there are powerlifters now in their 90s. Now, of course, they don't lift as much as someone 50-year-old. Of course not. But they lift quite a lot of weight in their 90s. Do you think that these people who start using steroids in their 20s, you think that they will be there in their 90s with a good physique? They stand upright. They are active. Do you think that they will be that guy or that girl, 90-year-old, on stage lifting weights in competition? I don't think so. And it matters. It's easy when you're 20-year-old. You can try to act tough and say that, no, I will live fast and die young and all that nonsense. No, you won't. No. So a healthy lifestyle is what matters. And I personally believe that lifting weights is part of that. And it should be done in a natural way. The Liver King. Yeah, he is a perfect example of someone trying to promote his products and his way of eating and so on. And then he was caught using steroids, of course. And I think anyone who saw him and thought that was because of his diet and his training was being very naive, very, very naive. Now, Jason Momoa was mentioned here. I don't know so much about him. I don't know his age. I don't know his kind of starting point. But what I have seen is physique that is entirely possible. But I don't know if that he gained. That's a typical thing in Hollywood, right? They They brag about this actor or put on 20 pounds of muscle in 3 months. Like, okay, so in other words, that actor was using steroids. That's what it means. Um, so yeah, when it comes to really strong people, you know, objectively really, really strong people. What I have noticed, and of course, now you can be strong and smaller, right? And then you have weight classes. That's why you have weight classes. But these people that I've seen in powerlifting, drug-free powerlifting, that are really, really strong, they, if we talk about the men here, they are usually quite uh, big in every every part of their body. Don't get me wrong here. Like their wrists, jaw, shoulders. It's like they are. We have this saying: built for cargo, not for speed. Um, and it seems like it's not a mystery that these people would be very strong, right? But then when you see these people who are talking about these actors who are slim, right? And they don't have that. Daniel, we're getting to you properly. Get ready. When you have these people who are naturally slim, and then they suddenly have a completely different physique, it's usually because in a short matter of time, in a few months, it's not natural. It's not natural. Now, okay. Daniel, we won't spend a lot of time on you, but you are saying, apart from sports, you have yet to define why you mean steroids, are wrong. No. I've already, I don't know if you have been listening from the start, I have already listed a lot of reasons why it's wrong. Now, we can talk about ethics, but I've noticed that in this time and age, ethics is something that people really don't care about. So we don't have to talk about ethics. But do you pay taxes, Daniel? And if you do, I think you do, you should care. Because you will be paying for a lifelong treatment of these people, because they will get sick. They will require medical assistance. They will require psychiatric assistance. You will be paying for that. And another reason why it's wrong, and I mentioned this already, is that these people, they don't use to build a physique like the physique they want, it's not going to be enough to take synthetic steroids to get your testosterone level up to a normal level. They want maybe 500% of that. And when you do that, you change your behavior. You become aggressive, you become a problem. Not everyone, but a lot of these people become a problem in society. You have people driving in an aggressive way. You have violence in the home, and you have a lot of ugly things happening. So this is something that people need to understand. I could tell you some horror stories because I've been in gyms for almost 40 years and I've seen people going down that path. And I've seen them just destroying themselves. It usually ends with suicide. Now, these influencers, they won't tell you that because that would destroy their business, right? And the bodybuilder or the crossfitter or the strongman who's on steroids and also who requires to go to a psychologist every week to cry, he won't tell you that he's doing that. But this is important to understand. And as responsible adults, we need to be good examples, set good examples for younger people when they are vulnerable, because they're on social media platforms all day. And they see these people and they want to be like these people. And they think that, oh, if only I looked like that, all the women would want me, right? So, no, we need to take a stand against this. I know I'm not in majority here, of course, but I don't care. This is important. So, okay. If you think it's a good idea to come here and write recommendations for things to use, then you're being a proper idiot, right? Let's see here. Yeah, okay. So another thing is that, and I will finish the live stream with this one here, and it's a bit a personal thing. It's a guilty pleasure that I have. I shouldn't do this, but I can't help myself. Now I'm quite strong. I've been competing on international level in powerlifting, so I can lift quite a lot of weight. The weights you lift in a powerlifting gym, the normal weights there are way beyond what you see these roiders are lifting in the commercial gyms, and they think they are strong. So my guilty pleasure is that if I find myself in a commercial gym, and I will then normally be surrounded by these idiots in tiny shirts who seem to get a hard on by looking at themselves in the mirror. Sorry, I have to be blunt about this. I like to put a lot of plates on the bar and lift a lot of weight because I know it crushes their self-esteem. I shouldn't do this because they will probably go back home and take more pills or whatever. But it's a guilty pleasure. I am very. I should say I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. So, so yeah. So that's how it is. Okay. Oh yeah, body dysmorphia. I forgot to mention that. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Powerlifting is technique to a considerable extent. You sound like you're having a valid ego moment. Okay. Yeah. Have you lifted 300 kilos in the deadlift? Have you ever done that? So powerlifting is misunderstood, right? The technique needs to be proper or you will die. No, not die, but you will be very, very damaged. It's not like the technique is what is doing the lifting. You need the technique to be proper so that you will be able to do the sport. There's a reason why it's called powerlifting. It's about power, generating power. So anyone saying that powerlifting is not about strength, they don't know what they're talking about. Powerlifters in general are fucking strong. Okay, that's what they do. Technique needs to be there. You can't. Well, it's like when we get young lifters in the gym, and they start powerlifting, and they arch their back, like the hunched back thing. And I tell them, you can keep doing that. I tell them in a nice way, you can keep doing that for a while, but you will get injured. It's just a matter of time. You need to do it in the proper way. Even if that means that, and it normally means that you need to reduce the weight a lot. So you need to get into the proper technique first, and then you build strength. So also your technique needs to be tweaked continuously, but basically it's about strength. Oh yeah, isn't it funny, this Anatoly guy? I don't know him so well, but there are a couple of these names I recognize. A couple of these Eastern Europeans. One of them I remember because he got caught in the IPF twice, if my memory serves me correctly. Then you're banned for life. It should be one time out for life, in my opinion. And so, yeah, I you know what? I can't remember it well enough, so I'm not going to point any fingers. But one of those guys that are quite out there in social media, he's that guy who was caught twice. Yeah, but anyway. Yeah, we always get someone like you, don't we? Truth is our reality. Truth is a big word. That's a big word. You're writing. So it's technique, not superhuman power. It's also one-dimensional fitness. Yeah. Okay. If it makes you feel better, you can believe that, right? That's fine. And you didn't listen to what I said, which probably you should. You could learn something, Yeah, okay. Okay, we always get these people. Hold on, I have to. Yeah, we don't have time for that. Laura is asking, have you ever lifted close to 600 pounds? Oh, I lifted more than that. Absolutely. So now someone I've coached on an Olympic level. I have not coached anyone on Olympic level, but I have coached people on the national level for the nationals. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You were referring to that guy I just kicked out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I am a coach. Level 2. There are in the Norwegian Federation 3 levels, and I have completed many years ago. I completed the first and the second. Now that doesn't mean that you're necessarily a very experienced lifter or a coach. It just means that you have done the training, the theory. Yeah, we kicked out that guy. We don't have time for that. So Oliver says, steroids until I hit 40 with kids. Now I'm built like my grandfather. Forgive me if I misunderstand here, but are you meaning that you used steroids until 40? I do absolutely, if that is the case, I don't know this for sure, but I think absolutely that you can get back you at that age, whatever age, you can get your not steroid, your testosterone level, your hormone up again, and your I think it's maybe difficult, but I think it's possible. I think it's absolutely, you should not give up. Just keep lifting those weights and try to get enough sleep and eat well. So you know, you'll get there. You will get there. Let's see here. Yeah, Konstantin, he had a weird deadlift form. Ugly deadlift form, I think. But there, you had back then. There were these people lifting like that. I I don't know where that comes from, but nobody should lift like that. It's not good for your spine. You know, it's like oh, my shoulders are too stiff. Like I do this when I hold on. Yeah. Okay. That's me illustrating the bones in your spine. And when you lift in, especially the deadlift and the squat, you need them to be in place. And when, hold on, here, okay. So when you're hunching your back, they do like this, and that's where you get a wear and tear here. So you need them to be in place, right? And if you keep hunching your back, you're constantly wearing the little bones down, and they are tiny. So yeah, don't do that. So, but it's an extreme sport, and it was more extreme, even more extreme in back in the days when I lifted more. I have to compression fractures in my spine, actually. Actually, I have 3, but the one in my neck is from an accident. So is it healthy to be at an elite level in powerlifting? No. It's I hate to say it, but it's not. But it's fun. Gavrov says, "Don't do deadlifts. They serve no purpose. I hurt my back for a long time." Well, they absolutely serve a purpose. Deadlifts are the meaning of life. If you do heavy deadlifts, you will be financially successful. Women will love you. You will have fame and fortune and be happy. Yes. But yeah, yeah. I get what you're saying. Although you will see physiotherapists and so on saying that you should do deadlifts and you should absolutely do squats, by the way. But deadlifts, you should do deadlifts. They are much more there is, I can't remember what it's called now, but some research has shown that thank you, Hotep. They help with core stability. Who said they don't help? Yes. Core stability, and there's something about the cartilage between those bones in your back that actually benefit if you sometimes put weight on your spine and then you take the weight off. They did some yeah, okay. They did some research on that, and they found that people who are regularly putting load on their backs have better back health, spine health than people who don't. So that is probably because of that kind of pumping of nutrients into that cartilage. So yeah, but is it like, can you get that effect deadlifting 100 kilos instead of 300 kilos? Probably. But then again, when you lift 300 kilos in the deadlifts, that's normally because you are competing or training for competition in powerlifting. So we have an expert here. Gabriel says you should be able to lift and move heavy objects around. The deadlift setup is just an ego thing which damages lower backs. Okay. How can it be an ego thing if it's part of a sport? Why do you say that? Do you say that about all sports? Like running a marathon, is that an ego thing as well? What a strange attitude to have. You don't have to be an expert to know this. Okay. It's funny because I have found that I have a lot of property here, and sometimes I have moved some rocks. Some of them are quite big. And I find that my deadlift training helps me moving those rocks. Now, I try not to move rocks because I'm afraid, maybe I could drop them on my toe and so on. So, I try to be careful. But the idea that deadlifting is not functional strength is very strange. Um, it's actually called functional strength, functional training, functional strength. That's actually what we call these full body movements. So that's, you should probably try. Yeah, and you can leave. I will try not to cry at night, Gavrov, since you're leaving us. That's okay. That's cool if it has helped you. I have tried. Okay. Yes. It is so wonderful with the internet because even after 40 years of weight training, a personal trainer education, level 2 powerlifting coach education, competing at national level, international level, several deadlift national records, several national gold medals. It doesn't matter because you can go on the internet and there will be someone, nameless person on the internet educating you who knows better than you. And I actually pay people to educate me, like my coach, who is a very, very good coach. And maybe that's foolish because I can just go on the internet and there will be people who know better than me. So, yeah, funny how that works. But Carl, I know Carl is also a fellow weightlifter, or not the Olympic weightlifting, but I know you lift weights, and you're saying deadlifts are the epitome of strength. It's absolutely binary and unforgiving. Either you can lift it or not. Yes, that's what I like about the deadlift. It's so honest, right? The squat in competition is like you can lift it and still have it not being approved by the judges because maybe you didn't hit depth. Maybe it was not deep enough, and so on. But the deadlift, it's usually you get the deadlift approved if you can lift it. So it's a very honest thing. I would say that, like as I mentioned, Olympic weightlifting is maybe even more like functional because it's involving even more of your body when you lift. And there is a greater deal of explosiveness in Olympic weightlifting. So yeah, but I mean, for functional strength, these full body movements are great. So if you, and it's not complicated. If you focus on the squat, the deadlift, the bench press, some rows, and some overhead presses, some work for your biceps, and so on. then you got it. It's not complicated. But yeah. And by the way, concerning core strength, people do a lot of, especially women, I must say, they are lying there and they do all these exercises for core strength. You know what trains your core strength more than anything else? The squat and the deadlift. And it's just amazing for core strength. let's see here. Yeah, I have noticed that most women, Benny is writing, most women just do booty exercises like glute thrust on the Smith machine, that plus cardio. Yes, I have noticed that, and forgive me for being a dirty old man here, but I have also noticed that the women in powerlifting, okay, they focus on the squat and the deadlift and the bench press, and they do a lot of squatting. And I have noticed, I have noticed that they have great usually they have their glute development is good. Yeah. So that's how it is. Karura is asking, is it possible to do deadlifts after several slipped discs in the lower back? Well, the simple answer is yes. I know many people who do, but I think I should not be the one giving advice on that, because I don't know your situation or your condition. A physiotherapist who are positive towards weight training, they usually are, but a physiotherapist should be giving you advice on that, I believe. So, yeah. Okay. We've been talking for a long time. So, we had some odd people here. I had to kick 2 people out, I think. Yeah, it happens. It happens. So, yeah, have a wonderful day. And we will be talking soon. By the way, on my main channel tomorrow, I have a video that I am looking very much forward to. Well, of course, I am editing it now, so it's almost finished. On the main channel tomorrow evening, Norwegian time. Check that out. It will be, I think you will like it. Yeah. Okay. Take care. Go and hit the gym, and we'll talk soon. Wonderful. Bye-bye.